I told you to get out of here. You can't stay here. Where do you expect us to go in this weather?
Leave us alone!
The rain hammered down on Lagos like bullets from heaven, each drop a tiny explosion on my bleeding face. I clutched Ngozi and Emeka tighter against my chest, their small bodies shaking, not from the cold, but from the screams they'd heard, the violence they'd witnessed. My 5-year-old daughter buried her face in my torn blouse, whimpering, "Mommy, I'm scared," while my 3-year-old son's tears mixed with the rain streaming down his cheeks. It was 1:17 a.m. I knew because I'd looked at the wall clock as Chaik's fist connected with my jaw one final time before he dragged us to the door of our luxury Victoria Island apartment. "Get out. Get out of my house, you witch." His voice still echoed in my ears, along with the sound of our belongings being thrown after us, a diaper bag that landed in a puddle, Ngozi's stuffed rabbit now drowning in brown water. The security gate slammed shut behind us with a metallic clang that sounded like a prison door. Through the bars, I could see the warm lights of our apartment, the home I'd decorated with such hope 3 years ago. Now it looked like a beautiful cage I'd finally escaped, or been exiled from. I wasn't sure which. My ribs screamed with every breath. My left eye was swelling shut. Blood dripped from my split lip onto Emeka's head, and he looked up at me with those innocent eyes that still believed his mother could fix anything. But I couldn't even fix this. A car sped past, splashing gutter water onto us. The driver didn't slow down. Why would he? We were just another shadow on a Lagos street at night, invisible, disposable, forgotten. "Mummy, where are we going?" Ngozi's voice cracked. I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came, because I didn't know. I had no phone. Chaik had smashed it against the wall 2 hours ago. No money, he controlled every naira. No family nearby, he'd made sure I lost touch with everyone who might help me. All I had were 2 terrified children, a body that felt broken, and a terrible secret that had cost me everything. The secret about what my husband really did for a living. The secret that got us thrown out into the storm. The secret that might get us killed. Thunder cracked overhead, and somewhere in the distance, I heard a woman screaming. Or maybe it was me. I couldn't tell anymore. This was supposed to be my fairy tale. Chaik was supposed to be my prince. How did I get here? Let me tell you how a dream became a nightmare. Hello guys, welcome to my African tales. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share it with your friends, and most important thing, turn your notification bell so you can get informed when I dropped another amazing story. Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments. What would you do if your spouse tried to kill you and you survive? Will you take a revenge or disappear forever? I compromised. I'd work until the end of the term, then we'd discuss it again. That bought me 3 months of relative peace. 3 months where I pretended not to notice how he'd begun controlling what I wore. That skirt is too short. Who I talked to. Why is that male teacher always chatting you? And where I went. Just to the market. I'll send the driver. Then I got pregnant. The day I saw those 2 lines on the test, I cried tears of joy. A baby. Surely this would bring back the Chaik I'd fallen in love with. Surely fatherhood would soften whatever hardness had crept into his heart. We're having a baby, I told him that evening, barely able to contain my excitement. His face lit up. He lifted me off my feet, spinning me around. A baby. Amara, you've made me the happiest man alive. For a while, it was good again. He was attentive during my pregnancy, hiring the best doctors, buying baby things months in advance. When Ngozi was born, a beautiful baby girl with his eyes and my nose, he wept with joy. "My princess," he whispered, holding her tiny hand. "I'll protect you forever." If only he'd protected her mother the same way. The violence started when Ngozi was 6 months old. I remember the exact moment my marriage became a prison. Ngozi was crying, that relentless newborn wail that seemed to pierce straight through your skull. I'd been up for 3 nights straight with her teething, and I was so exhausted I could barely see straight. Chaik had been coming home later and later, sometimes smelling like perfume that wasn't mine, sometimes not coming home until 3 or 4 a.m. That night, I finally asked, "Where were you?" He was loosening his tie, heading toward the bedroom.
He stopped.
What did you say? I asked where you were. It's 2 a.m., Chike. I've been calling you for hours. Ngozi has been sick. And I've been working. Someone has to pay for this apartment, the nanny you want to hire, the expensive formula, because you can't breastfeed properly. The doctor said my milk supply is fine. You're the one who insisted on formula. The slap came out of nowhere. My head snapped to the side, ears ringing. I stared at him, hand flying to my burning cheek, unable to process what had just happened. Don't you ever question me again, he said quietly. Too quietly. I am your husband. You will respect me. He walked into the bedroom and closed the door. I stood in the living room, shaking, Ngozi still crying in the nursery, my face throbbing. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be my life. The next morning, he brought me breakfast in bed, pancakes, fresh fruit, orange juice. Baby, I'm so sorry. He sat on the edge of the bed, and I could see tears in his eyes. I don't know what came over me. Work stress, money problems, but that's no excuse. I should never have touched you. It will never happen again. I swear on Ngozi's life. He looked so broken, so genuinely remorseful. And I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. It can't happen again, Chike. Never. Never, he promised, kissing my hand. I'll make it up to you. I'm taking you to that jewelry store you love. Pick anything you want. The pattern was set. Violence. Apologies. Expensive gifts. Promises. A few weeks of peace. Then something would trigger him. Dinner wasn't ready on time. I smiled too much at the security guard. I wore lipstick without asking, and the cycle would repeat. The hits became more frequent. More calculated, too. He learned where to strike, so the bruises wouldn't show. Ribs, back, scalp hidden under my hair. Once, he pushed me so hard I fell and sprained my wrist. He told the doctor I'd slipped on the wet bathroom floor. I became an expert at covering up. Long sleeves in Lagos heat. Makeup to hide the shadows under my eyes. Bright smiles that never reached my face. Obioma knew something was wrong. Amara, when last did I see you? She demanded one afternoon when she showed up unannounced at the apartment. You don't answer my calls. You canceled our lunch 3 times. What's going on? Nothing. I'm just busy with the baby. Bullshit. She grabbed my arm and I winced. She immediately pulled up my sleeve, revealing the finger-shaped bruises.
Amara. No.
It's not what you think. He's hitting you. Her voice cracked. That bastard is hitting you. Obi, please. I glanced toward the bedroom where Ngozi was napping, terrified Chike might come home early. Please, just let it go. Let it go? Have you lost your mind? You need to leave. Pack your things right now. And go where? Back to the compound? Live on your salary while raising a baby? Obioma, I have nothing. No job, no money, no. You have me. You have family. He'll find me, and he'll be so angry. I couldn't even finish the sentence. The thought of what Chike would do if I tried to leave made my blood run cold. Obioma pulled me into her arms, and I finally broke down, sobbing into her shoulder. This isn't your fault, she whispered fiercely. None of this is your fault. But Amara, you have to be smart.
Start planning.
Save money secretly. Document everything. And when the time is right, Mrs. Okonkwo? We both jumped. The maid had appeared in the doorway. Your husband is calling. He wants to know who is here. Chike had installed cameras. Of course he had. Obioma left shortly after, but not before whispering in my ear. I'm not giving up on you. Never. That evening, Chike came home with flowers and a lecture about entertaining my sister without his permission. I apologized.
I was always apologizing now.
When I got pregnant with Emeka, I thought maybe another child would change things. But it only got worse. Another mouth to feed. Chike complained when I told him, though we both knew money wasn't the issue. You did this on purpose, didn't you? To trap me. Trap him? I was the one trapped. During my pregnancy with Emeka, the violence became more psychological. He'd lock me in the bedroom for hours as punishment for perceived infractions. He monitored every naira I spent. He installed an app on my phone that tracked my every movement. "It's for your safety," he said. Lagos is dangerous. But I was most in danger from him. The night Emeka was born, Chike didn't come to the hospital. I labored for 14 hours with only the midwife and Obioma, who I'd called secretly, by my side. He showed up 2 days later with a massive teddy bear and excuses about a business emergency. "Another boy would have been better," he said, looking at tiny Emeka. "But I suppose 2 children is enough. You'll get your tubes tied."
What?
"No, I won't." He gripped my jaw, squeezing hard enough to leave marks.
Yes.
"You will. I'm not discussing this." I got my tubes tied 6 weeks later. For the next 3 years, I lived in a beautiful cage. My children were my only joy, my only reason to keep going. I told myself I was staying for them, that they needed their father, that maybe things would get better. They didn't get better. They got catastrophically worse. It started with the paperwork. I compromised. I'd work until the end of the term, then we'd discuss it again. That bought me 3 months of relative peace. 3 months where I pretended not to notice how he'd begun controlling what I wore. "That skirt is too short. Who I talked to? Why is that male teacher always chatting you?" And where I went, just to the market. "I'll send the driver." Then I got pregnant. The day I saw those 2 lines on the test, I cried tears of joy. A baby. Surely this would bring back the Chike I'd fallen in love with. Surely fatherhood would soften whatever hardness had crept into his heart. "We're having a baby," I told him that evening, barely able to contain my excitement. His face lit up. He lifted me off my feet, spinning me around. "A baby? Amara, you've made me the happiest man alive." For a while, it was good again. He was attentive during my pregnancy, hiring the best doctors, buying baby things months in advance. When Ngozi was born, a beautiful baby girl with his eyes and my nose, he wept with joy. "My princess," he whispered, holding her tiny hand. "I'll protect you forever." If only he'd protected her mother the same way. The violence started when Ngozi was 6 months old. I remember the exact moment my marriage became a prison. Ngozi was crying, that relentless newborn wail that seemed to pierce straight through your skull. I'd been up for 3 nights straight with her teething, and I was so exhausted I could barely see straight. Chike had been coming home later and later, sometimes smelling like perfume that wasn't mine, sometimes not coming home until 3 or 4 a.m. That night, I finally asked, "Where were you?" He was loosening his tie, heading toward the bedroom.
He stopped.
"What did you say?" I asked where you were. "It's 2 a.m., Chike. I've been calling you for hours. Ngozi has been sick. And I've been working. Someone has to pay for this apartment, the nanny you want to hire, the expensive formula, because you can't breastfeed properly. The doctor said my milk supply is fine. You're the one who insisted on formula." The slap came out of nowhere. My head snapped to the side, ears ringing. I stared at him, hand flying to my burning cheek, unable to process what had just happened. "Don't you ever question me again," he said quietly. Too quietly. "I am your husband. You will respect me." He walked into the bedroom and closed the door. I stood in the living room, shaking, Ngozi still crying in the nursery, my face throbbing. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be my life. The next morning, he brought me breakfast in bed, pancakes, fresh fruit, orange juice. "Baby, I'm so sorry." He sat on the edge of the bed, and I could see tears in his eyes. I don't know what came over me. Work stress, money problems, but that's no excuse. I should never have touched you. It will never happen again. I swear on Ngozi's life. He looked so broken, so genuinely remorseful. And I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. "It can't happen again, Chike. Never." "Never," he promised, kissing my hand. "I'll make it up to you. I'm taking you to that jewelry store you love. Pick anything you want." The pattern was set. Violence. Apologies. Expensive gifts. Promises. A few weeks of peace. Then something would trigger him. Dinner wasn't ready on time. I smiled too much at the security guard, I wore lipstick without asking, and the cycle would repeat. The hits became more frequent. More calculated, too. He learned where to strike, so the bruises wouldn't show. Ribs, back, scalp hidden under my hair. Once he pushed me so hard I fell and sprained my wrist. He told the doctor I'd slipped on the wet bathroom floor. I became an expert at covering up. Long sleeves in Lagos heat. Makeup to hide the shadows under my eyes. Bright smiles that never reached my face. Obioma knew something was wrong. "Amara, when last did I see you?" she demanded one afternoon when she showed up unannounced at the apartment. "You don't answer my calls. You canceled our lunch 3 times. What's going on?" "Nothing. I'm just busy with the baby." "Bullshit." She grabbed my arm, and I winced. She immediately pulled up my sleeve, revealing the finger-shaped bruises.
Amara. No.
"It's not what you think. He's hitting you." Her voice cracked. "That bastard is hitting you. Obi, please." I glanced toward the bedroom where Ngozi was napping, terrified Chike might come home early. "Please, just let it go." "Let it go? Have you lost your mind? You need to leave. Pack your things right now." "And go where? Back to the compound? Live on your salary while raising a baby?" "Obioma, I have nothing. No job, no money, no. You have me. You have family. He'll find me, and he'll be so angry." I couldn't even finish the sentence. The thought of what Chike would do if I tried to leave made my blood run cold. Obioma pulled me into her arms, and I finally broke down, sobbing into her shoulder. "This isn't your fault," she whispered fiercely. "None of this is your fault. But Amara, you have to be smart. Start planning. Save money secretly. Document everything. And when the time is right, Mrs. Okonkwo." We both jumped. The maid had appeared in the doorway. "Your husband is calling. He wants to know who is here." Chike had installed cameras.
Of course he had.
Obioma left shortly after, but not before whispering in my ear, "I'm not giving up on you. Never." That evening, Chike came home with flowers and a lecture about entertaining my sister without his permission. I apologized.
I was always apologizing now.
When I got pregnant with Emeka, I thought maybe another child would change things. But it only got worse. Another mouth to feed, Chike complained when I told him, though we both knew money wasn't the issue. "You did this on purpose, didn't you? To trap me." Trap him? I was the one trapped. During my pregnancy with Emeka, the violence became more psychological. He'd lock me in the bedroom for hours as punishment for perceived infractions. He monitored every naira I spent. He installed an app on my phone that tracked my every movement. "It's for your safety," he said. "Lagos is dangerous." But I was most in danger from him. The night Emeka was born, Chike didn't come to the hospital. I labored for 14 hours with only the midwife and Obioma, who I'd called secretly, by my side. He showed up 2 days later with a massive teddy bear and excuses about a business emergency. "Another boy would have been better," he said, looking at tiny Emeka. "But I suppose 2 children is enough. You'll get your tubes tied." "What?" "No, I won't." He gripped my jaw, squeezing hard enough to leave marks.
"Yes,
"You will." "I'm not discussing this." I got my tubes tied 6 weeks later. For the next 3 years, I lived in a beautiful cage. My children were my only joy, my only reason to keep going. I told myself I was staying for them, that they needed their father, that maybe things would get better. They didn't get better. They got catastrophically worse. It started with the paperwork. I wasn't snooping. I need you to understand that. I wasn't the kind of wife who searched through her husband's things looking for evidence of affairs or financial secrets. I'd learned long ago that Chike's privacy was sacred, that violating it meant punishment. But that Tuesday afternoon, I was simply looking for Ngozi's birth certificate. We needed it for her school enrollment. She was starting primary 1 at Corona School, and the administration had requested various documents. Chike kept all our important papers in his study, in the large filing cabinet behind his desk. "Don't go in my study without permission," he'd warned me countless times. But he was away on one of his mysterious business trips, wouldn't be back for 3 days, and the school needed the certificate by Friday. It was just a birth certificate. What could be the harm? The filing cabinet was locked, but I knew where he kept the key, inside a fake book on the shelf. Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. The irony wasn't lost on me. The birth certificates were in the front folder, easily accessible. I pulled out Ngozi's, relieved. That's when the folder behind it caught my eye. It was labeled Land Acquisitions, Aja Project. I should have closed the drawer. Should have walked away. But something made me pull out that folder, made me sit down at Chaik's expensive leather chair and open it. What I saw made my blood run cold. Forged documents. Dozens of them. Land titles with signatures that looked wrong, photocopied and altered. Letters from government officials that seemed fake. And photographs. Photographs of families being evicted from their homes by armed men. There were spreadsheets too, tracking payments to politicians, police officers, court officials. Amounts that made my head spin. Millions of naira changing hands. And letters. God, the letters. One was from a woman named Mrs. Adebayo, begging someone to stop the eviction. We've lived here for 30 years. My husband built this house with his own hands. Where will we go with our 6 children? Please have mercy. Another from an elderly man. The papers you showed us are fake. My family has owned this land since 1965. I have the original documents. You cannot do this. There were at least 20 such letters, all pleading, all desperate. And then I found the response template Chaik had drafted. Your claims have no legal standing. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises or face forcible eviction. Any possessions left behind will be considered abandoned. My husband wasn't an import-export. My husband was a land grabber. All these years, all this wealth, the apartment, the cars, the jewelry, the lifestyle I'd been living, it was built on the suffering of innocent families. Families who were being thrown out of their homes, their legal documents forged or destroyed, their lives ruined. I thought of Mrs. Adebayo and her 6 children. I thought of the elderly man losing his family's legacy. I thought of myself and my 2 children, living in luxury paid for with other people's tears. The nausea hit me so hard I barely made it to the bathroom before vomiting. When I finally stopped shaking, I went back to the study. I needed evidence. I needed proof. My phone was monitored. I couldn't take pictures. But the apartment had a scanner printer in the guest room. Chaik rarely went in there. For the next 3 hours, while Ngozi and Emeka napped, I scanned documents. My hands trembled so badly, I had to redo several pages. I saved everything to a flash drive I'd found in the kitchen drawer, then hid it inside Emeka's teddy bear, in a small tear in the seam that I sewed shut with shaking fingers. I put everything back exactly as I'd found it, locked the filing cabinet, returned the key to its hiding place. Then I sat on the floor of the study and cried. What was I supposed to do with this information? If I went to the police, Chaik had half of them on his payroll. If I went public, I'd be destroying my children's father, leaving them without support. But if I stayed silent, I was complicit in destroying other families. That evening, after I'd put the children to bed, I called Obioma from the apartment's landline, the only phone Chaik didn't monitor. Obi, I need to see you.
Tomorrow.
It's urgent. What's wrong? You sound terrible. I can't talk on this line. Meet me at the Palms tomorrow, 2 p.m. Food court. Please. We met the next day. I told the maid I was taking the children shopping. Obioma took one look at my face and knew something was catastrophically wrong. While Ngozi and Emeka played in the children's area under the watchful eye of the play area attendant, I told my sister everything in hushed, urgent whispers. Jesus Christ, she breathed when I finished. Amara, you have to go to the authorities. With what? His copies of the documents? He'll say I faked them. He has lawyers, police, politicians in his pocket. I'm nobody. You're not nobody. Obi, if I try to expose him, he'll kill me. I'm not being dramatic. You don't know what he's capable of. My sister grabbed my hands across the table. Then leave. Tonight. Pack the children and leave. And live how? On what money? He controls everything. I don't even have an ATM card in my own name. We sat in silence, the cheerful chaos of the mall swirling around us. Couples laughing, children playing, normal people living normal lives. Everything I'd lost. There's a lawyer, Obioma finally said. A woman. She handles domestic violence cases and helps women get away from abusive partners. My coworker used her services last year. She's good and she's discreet. I can't afford a lawyer. She does pro bono work. And even if she charges, I'll find the money. My sister's voice was fierce. We'll figure this out, Amara. But you need to start planning your exit. Document everything, his abuse, his illegal activities, everything. And when the time is right, Mummy. We both jumped. Ngozi was running toward us, Emeka toddling behind her, both looking happy and carefree. Can we get ice cream? Please. I forced a smile, wiping away tears I hadn't realized were falling.
Of course, baby.
Let's get ice cream. While the children enjoyed their treats, Obioma wrote down the lawyer's information on a napkin. I memorized the number and threw the napkin away. That night, back in the apartment, I couldn't look at Chaik without seeing those photographs of displaced families. When he reached for me in bed, I flinched. What's wrong with you? He demanded. Nothing. Just tired. Too tired for your husband? I forced myself to relax, to let him touch me, to play the role of the obedient wife. All while screaming inside. This was my life now.
Pretending.
Surviving. Waiting. For 2 weeks, I pretended everything was normal. I smiled when Chaik came home. I cooked his favorite meals. I let him believe he'd broken me completely. But inside, I was planning. Watching. Waiting for my moment. It came on a Thursday evening. Chaik's business partner, a man named Emeka, not my son, a different Emeka, came to the apartment for a meeting. They sat in the study with the door closed, but their voices carried. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner when I heard raised voices. You promised them compensation, the partner shouted. And I'll give it to them. Eventually. After the property values rise. Eventually? Chaik, these people have nothing. You saw that family. They're sleeping under a bridge. Not my problem. They should have had proper documentation. You destroyed their documentation. Silence. Then Chaik's voice, cold and hard. Lower your voice in my house. Those people were squatters. Illegal occupants. I did nothing wrong. You forged government stamps. I facilitated a legitimate land transaction. If you're too soft for this business, Emeka, perhaps we should part ways. Perhaps we should. I heard footsteps, then the front door slamming. Through the window, I watched Chaik's partner storm to his car, fumbling with his keys, clearly furious. Then Chaik emerged from the study. His face was a mask of cold rage. Did you hear any of that? My heart hammered.
No.
I was just making dinner. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he walked to the kitchen, turned off the stove, and grabbed my arm. Come with me. He dragged me to the study, threw open the filing cabinet. Everything was exactly as I'd left it 2 weeks ago. But he pulled out the land acquisition folder, flipping through it frantically. Have you been in here?
No.
Chaik, you're hurting me. Don't lie to me. He backhanded me across the face. I tasted blood. These pages are out of order. Someone's been through my files. I swear I haven't. It was you. It had to be you.
What did you see?
What did you do? Nothing. I just needed Ngozi's birth certificate for school, I swear. His hands went around my throat. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't scream. The world started going dark around the edges. Then I heard it. A small, terrified voice. Daddy, stop. You're hurting Mummy. Ngozi stood in the doorway of the study, tears streaming down her face. Behind her, Emeka was crying too.
Chaik, release me.
I collapsed to the floor, gasping. Go to your room, he told the children. When they didn't move, he roared. Now. They ran. I should have run too. Should have grabbed them and fled right then. But I was too afraid. Too broken. Chaik stood over me, breathing hard. You saw the documents, didn't you? There was no point lying anymore. Yes. What are you planning to do about it? I looked up at him through my one good eye. The other was already swelling shut. Nothing. I'm not going to do anything.
Good.
Because if you ever try to betray me, I will destroy you. I will take those children away, and you will never see them again. I have the money, the lawyers, the connections. You have nothing. Do you understand? Yes. Say it. I understand. Good. He left the study, left me bleeding on his expensive carpet. That night, I held my children close while they slept, their small bodies curled against mine. Ngozi had nightmares, crying out for me. Emeka sucked his thumb, a habit he'd abandoned months ago. I'd broken them. By exposing them to this violence, I'd broken my own children. Something hardened in my chest. Something cold and determined. I couldn't leave yet. I had no resources, no plan, no safety net. But I would.
Soon.
I just needed to be smart, patient, careful. What I didn't know was that I'd run out of time. The day it all fell apart started like any other Thursday. I woke at 6 a.m. to Emeka crying. Changed him, fed him breakfast while Ngozi got herself dressed for school. Made Chaik's coffee exactly how he liked it, 2 sugars, dash of milk, served at precisely 7:15 a.m. He barely looked at me as he took the cup. We hadn't spoken more than necessary since the incident in his study 3 days ago. The bruises on my throat had faded to a sickly yellow-green. I covered them with a scarf. I'll be late tonight, he said, scrolling through his phone. Don't wait up. Okay. He left without kissing the children goodbye. Ngozi watched him go with those sad, knowing eyes that no 5-year-old should have. Is Daddy mad at us? She asked quietly.
No, baby.
He's just busy with work. Come on, let's get you to school. The morning passed in its usual rhythm. Drop Ngozi at school, come back home with Emeka, tidy the apartment while he napped, prepare lunch. The maid had the day off, so it was just us. Around 2 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Is this Amara Okonkwo? I stared at it, my heart rate picking up. Chaik monitored my messages. Who is this? I typed carefully. Yes. Who is this? A friend of your sister. I have information about your husband.
Can you talk?
My hands started shaking. Was this a trap? Had Chaik set this up to test me? But something made me respond. Not on this phone. He monitors it. A pause. Then, the landline in your apartment. Call this number from there in 10 minutes. Make sure you're alone. I read the message 3 times, then deleted it. Went to check on Emeka, still asleep. Then I went to the landline in the living room and dialed the number with trembling fingers. A woman's voice answered. Mrs. Okonkwo?
Yes.
Who are you? My name is Chidinma. I'm a journalist with The Guardian. I'm investigating illegal land acquisitions in Lagos, and your husband's name has come up repeatedly. My mouth went dry. I can't talk to you. I'm sorry. Wait. Please. I know this is scary, but I also know what he's doing to you. You don't know anything about me. I know you discovered his files 3 weeks ago. I know he assaulted you when he found out. I know you're terrified. How could you possibly? His former business partner, Emeka Nwankwo. He came to us after they had their falling out. He told us everything, including that Chaik suspects his wife found evidence. Mrs. Okonkwo, we want to help you, but we need proof. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. I have children. If I help you, if he finds out, we have resources, safe houses, legal protection. We can get you and your children somewhere safe before we publish anything. You don't understand. He has connections everywhere. Police, judges, politicians. So do we. Better ones. Mrs. Okonkwo, Amara, how many more families should suffer? How long before he escalates with you and hurts you beyond? I have to go.
Wait.
At least think about it. I'll call you tomorrow, same time. Please, just think about it. I hung up without answering. For the next 3 hours, I paced the apartment like a caged animal. This journalist, Chidinma, she was offering me a way out. But at what cost? If Chaik found out before I could escape, he'd kill me. I wasn't being dramatic. I knew this man. I'd seen the cold calculation in his eyes. But I also knew I couldn't keep living like this. When Gozi came home from school, I hugged her so tightly she squeaked, "Mummy, you're squishing me." "Sorry, baby. I just love you so much." That evening, I made Chaik's favorite meal, pounded yam and egusi soup with stockfish and dry fish, exactly how his mother made it. I set the table carefully, lit candles, even wore the dress he'd bought me last month. When he came home at 9 p.m., he looked surprised. "What's all this?" "I just wanted to do something nice. For us." I forced my brightest smile. He studied me suspiciously, but then sat down. "Where are the children?" "Asleep already." We ate in silence. I watched him, this man I'd once loved, this stranger who'd become my nightmare. How had I been so blind? After dinner, I cleaned up while he watched TV. When I joined him on the couch, he pulled me close. "You've been good lately," he murmured. "Obedient. I like it." My skin crawled, but I leaned into him. "I just want us to be happy, like before." "We can be, as long as you remember your place." I bit my tongue until I tasted blood. He was in a good mood that night. He even helped me put away the dishes, something he hadn't done in years. For a moment, I could almost see the man from the church, the charming prince who'd swept me off my feet. But then his phone rang. I watched his face change as he listened. The warmth drained away, replaced by that familiar cold hardness. A pause. How did they find out? Another pause. "I'll handle it." He hung up and stood so abruptly his chair fell over. "What's wrong?" I asked, already knowing something terrible was about to happen. "Nothing that concerns you." He grabbed his car keys. "I need to go out. But it's almost 11 p.m. Don't question me, Amara." He left, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. I waited 30 minutes to make sure he was really gone, then I called Obioma on the landline. "Obi, something's happening. Chaik got a phone call, and he's panicking." "Amara, I know. It's all over the news. The Guardian just published an expose on illegal land grabbing in Lagos. They didn't name names yet, but they said more details are coming tomorrow." Is it about Chaik?" My blood turned to ice. Oh God, Obi. You need to leave.
Right now.
Tonight. Pack the children and leave before he gets back. "I can't. I don't have anywhere." "Come to me. I don't care if this apartment is small. We'll figure it out. Just get out of there before." The sound of a car pulling up. Headlights swept across the living room window. He was back. "Already?" "Obi, I have to go." "Amara, don't hang up." I hung up. The front door burst open. Chaik stood there, and I'd never seen him look like this. Wild-eyed, breathing hard, his shirt untucked and stained with sweat. "You." He pointed at me with a shaking finger. "You did this." "Did what?" "Chaik, I don't know what you're talking about." "The Guardian. They have my documents. My private business documents." "How did they get them?" "I don't know." "Liar." He crossed the room in 3 strides and grabbed me by the throat, slamming me against the wall. "It was you. You're the only one who had access. I swear, I didn't give anyone anything. My partner said they knew about you. Knew you'd found the files. Only 2 people knew that, him and you. And I know it wasn't him, because he's been trying to save his own ass." His grip tightened. I clawed at his hands, unable to breathe. "Daddy, no." Ngozi again. Always Ngozi, trying to save me. But this time, Chaik didn't let go. "Get back to your room. You're hurting Mummy." She was crying, pulling at his arm. He released me with one hand just long enough to shove her away. She fell hard, hitting her head on the coffee table. That's when something inside me snapped. My daughter. He'd hurt my daughter. I grabbed the nearest thing, a heavy glass vase, and smashed it against his head. He stumbled back, blood streaming down his temple. For a moment, we both just stared at each other in shock. Then his face twisted into something inhuman. What happened next was a blur of violence. His fists. My screams. Ngozi crying. Emeka waking up and adding his wails to the chaos. He beat me worse than he ever had before. Face, ribs, back, stomach. I curled into a ball, trying to protect myself, but his kicks kept coming. You've destroyed everything. Each word punctuated with a blow. Everything I built. Years of work. Millions of naira. All gone because of you. Please, the children. The children? He laughed, a horrible sound. They're going to watch what happens to wives who betray their husbands. He dragged me to the bedroom. I could hear Ngozi screaming, Emeka crying. The maid must have heard, the neighbors must have heard, but no one came. No one ever came. In the bedroom, he threw me to the floor. I thought he was going to kill me. Part of me wished he would, just to end the pain. Instead, he started throwing things at me. Clothes, shoes, jewelry. All the expensive things he'd bought me over the years. Pack your shit. You're leaving. You and those bastard children. Chike, please, it's past midnight. Where will we go? I don't care if you sleep in the gutter. You're not staying in my house another second. He hauled me up by my hair and dragged me to the children's room. Ngozi had a bruise forming on her forehead from where she'd hit the table. Emeka was hiccuping with sobs, his face red and swollen.
Get them dressed.
You have 5 minutes. My hands shook so badly, I could barely button Ngozi's dress. She was trying to be brave, trying not to cry, and that broke my heart more than anything. Mummy, where are we going?
I don't know, baby.
But we'll be okay. I promise we'll be okay.
A lie.
I was lying to my daughter. Chike watched from the doorway, arms crossed. When I tried to pack some of their toys, he kicked the bag across the room.
No.
Just the clothes on your backs. That's all you get. Please, at least let me take some money, my phone. You think I'm stupid? You're going to take my money and my phone so you can run to the police? To the press. He grabbed my phone from the nightstand and smashed it against the wall. You have nothing because you are nothing. The rain had started, that heavy Lagos rain that turns streets into rivers in minutes. Thunder rolled across the sky. It's raining, I pleaded. Please, just let us wait until morning. Out. He roared so loud both children started crying again. Get out of my house. He herded us toward the door like animals. When Ngozi stumbled, he didn't help her up. When Emeka reached for his stuffed rabbit, Chike kicked it away. At the door, I turned one last time.
Please. Chike.
They're your children. You can do this to me, but not to them. Please. For just a second, I saw something flicker in his eyes.
Doubt? Shame?
Regret? But then it was gone. You should have thought about them before you betrayed me. Now get out before I call the police and tell them you attacked me. The apartment building's security guard looked away as we stumbled past. The other residents peeked through their curtains but didn't open their doors. And then we were outside, in the rain, at 1:17 a.m., and the gate slammed shut behind us with the finality of a coffin closing. Which brings us back to the beginning. Back to now. The rain showed no mercy. We huddled under a shop awning across the street from the apartment complex, a phone repair shop that had closed hours ago. Through the bars of the gate, I could still see our apartment, the lights blazing in every room. Chike's shadow moved past the window. Was he destroying evidence? Packing his own bags to flee? I didn't know. I didn't care anymore. All I cared about were my 2 children, soaked to the bone, shivering against me. Mummy, I'm cold. Emeka whimpered. I know, baby. I know. I tried to shield them with my body, but I was already drenched. My thin dress clung to me like a second skin. Every breath sent pain shooting through my ribs where Chike had kicked me. Ngozi's forehead was still bleeding sluggishly from where she'd hit the coffee table. I pressed the hem of my dress against it, trying to stop the flow. Does it hurt? She shook her head, trying to be brave. I'm okay, Mummy. My 5-year-old daughter, comforting me. The wrongness of it made me want to scream. A car approached, and for a wild moment I hoped, but it sped past, spraying us with more water. The driver didn't even glance our way. We were invisible. Another tragedy in a city full of them. Excuse me? Hello. I jumped at the voice. A night guard stood a few feet away, flashlight in hand. He was older, maybe in his 60s, with kind eyes. Are you alright? You can't stay here. Please, I begged. Just until the rain stops. My children. The shop owner will be angry if he finds people here in the morning. You have to move. Move where? Sir, please look at them. They're just babies. He glanced at Ngozi and Emeka, and I saw his face soften. What happened to you? The lie came automatically. Our house flooded. We had to evacuate. Daddy hurt Mummy, Ngozi said quietly. He pushed me, and I hit my head. The guard's expression changed. He looked at my face, swollen, bruised, the cut on my lip, and I saw understanding dawn. Wait here, he said. He returned 5 minutes later with a thin blanket and a bottle of water. It's all I have. I'm sorry. I wrapped the blanket around the children, my hands shaking. Thank you. Thank you so much. There's a church about 2 kilometers from here. St. Agnes. They open at 5 a.m. The priest is a good man. He might help. Thank you. He nodded and walked away, back to his post. At least he hadn't chased us off completely. 2 kilometers. In the rain. With 2 small children and whatever strength I had left in my battered body. We couldn't stay here until dawn, for more hours. The children would get hypothermia. I needed to move, to find proper shelter. I scooped Emeka into my arms. He was heavy, growing so fast. Ngozi, baby, hold on to my dress. Don't let go, okay? Okay, Mummy. We started walking. The streets were nearly empty at this hour. A few Danfo buses still ran, night shift workers heading home. I thought about trying to board one, but I had no money, and the drivers would just curse at me and drive off. We walked past closed shops, past sleeping beggars, past piles of garbage that reeked in the rain. Lagos looked different at night, uglier, more honest about what it really was. Ngozi stumbled, and I had to stop to help her up. My ribs screamed in protest. I'm sorry, Mummy, she whispered. Don't be sorry, baby. You're doing so good. You're so brave. We'd barely made it half a kilometer when a bus pulled up beside us. The door opened, and a woman's face appeared, round, motherly, with tired eyes. Sister, where are you going in this rain? I stared at her, unable to speak. Where was I going? I had no idea. I don't know. She looked at us, really looked, and something shifted in her expression. Get in. Get in now. I don't have money for fare. Did I ask for money? Get in before you people catch pneumonia. I climbed into the bus, with Emeka still in my arms. Ngozi scrambled in behind me. There were maybe 5 other passengers, all of them half asleep. The woman, her name tag said Mama Nkechi, handed me a wrapper from her bag. Cover those children. Jesus, what happened to you? My husband. Say no more. Her voice was grim. I've seen this before. Too many times. Where do you need to go? My sister lives in Surulere, but I don't have a phone to call her. I don't even know if she's home. We'll pass through Surulere. I'll drop you close to her area. Thank you, I sobbed. Thank you so much. She waved away my thanks and put the bus in gear. As we drove through the rain-slicked streets, she kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror. You're not going back to him, she said. It wasn't a question.
No.
Good. Men like that don't change. They only get worse. She was quiet for a moment. My sister stayed with a man like yours. Thought he would change. Thought she could save him. He killed her last year. The words hung in the air between us. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just promise me you'll stay away. For those children. I promise. By the time we reached Surulere, it was almost 3 a.m. The rain had slowed to a drizzle. Mama Nkechi stopped the bus, near a familiar junction. Do you know where you're going from here?
Yes. Thank you.
I don't know how to repay you. You stay alive. That's how you repay me. She pressed something into my hand, 200 naira notes. For call card. To call your sister. Before I could protest, she'd driven off into the night. I looked at Ngozi and Emeka, both half asleep against me, and I felt something I hadn't felt in hours.
Hope.
Obayoma's apartment was another 10-minute walk. By now, adrenaline was the only thing keeping me upright. Every step was agony. But we made it. I pounded on her door, not caring that it was 3 a.m., not caring that I'd wake the neighbors. Obioma, please. The door flew open. My sister stood there in her nightgown, hair wrapped, eyes wide with shock. Amara? Oh my God, Amara? She pulled us inside, and I finally let myself collapse. Let someone else be strong for a moment. What happened? I've been calling you for hours. He found out. I managed between sobs. About the documents. He beat me and threw us out. That bastard. She was crying too now, checking the children, checking me. Ngozi, baby, your head. We need to get you to a hospital. No hospitals, I said quickly. He'll check hospitals. He'll find us. Okay. She was thinking fast. I have a first aid kit. And my friend is a nurse. She'll come check on you. But, Amara, you need to report this. Tonight. Now, while the evidence is fresh. I can't. You don't understand. He'll what? Kill you? Her voice was fierce. He almost did that tonight. Look at yourself. Look at your children. She was right. I knew she was right. But I was so tired. So broken. Tomorrow, I whispered. Let me rest tonight. Tomorrow I'll go to the police. Obioma wanted to argue. I could see it in her face. But she just nodded and helped me to her small couch. She laid out sleeping mats for the children, found them dry clothes, made them warm Milo. Within minutes, exhaustion claimed them both. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, every part of my body screaming in pain. But we were safe. For now, we were safe. Tomorrow I would figure out what came next. Tomorrow I would find the strength to fight back. Tomorrow I would start taking my life back. I woke to sunlight streaming through Obioma's window and the smell of fried plantains. For one blissful second, I forgot where I was. Forgot everything that had happened. Then I tried to sit up, and pain exploded through my entire body.
Easy.
Obioma was there immediately, helping me. Don't move too fast. My friend Adiz came by early this morning. She's a nurse. She said you probably have cracked ribs, and definitely a concussion. She cleaned up Ngozi's head wound too. No stitches needed, thank God. I looked around the small apartment. Ngozi and Emeka were eating breakfast at the tiny table, looking small and lost in clothes that were too big for them, borrowed from Obioma's neighbor's children. What time is it? Almost 10 a.m. You've been asleep for 6 hours. 6 hours. The longest stretch of peaceful sleep I'd had in years. Chaik, has he? No calls, no messages. I checked your stuff. You didn't bring anything with you, not even a phone.
She paused.
But Amara, it's all over the news. The Guardian published a full expose this morning. They named names. Chaik's photo is everywhere. She handed me her phone. The headline made my heart stop. Exposed. Lagos businessman Chaik Okonkwo's multi-million naira land fraud ring. Below it, Chaik's smiling face from some business event. And below that, photographs, the same ones I'd seen in his files. Families being evicted. Forged documents. Everything. They got the documents, I whispered. But how? I didn't. His former partner, Obioma, said. Emeka Nwankwo. He went to them with everything after their falling out. The journalist I told you about, Chidinma, she's been investigating for months. When she called you yesterday, she already had most of the evidence. She was just hoping you could provide additional confirmation. So I hadn't betrayed him. He'd destroyed himself. But he would never believe that. Amara, you need to go to the police.
Today.
File a report about the assault. Get a restraining order. Before he comes looking for you. She was right. But the thought of walking into a police station, telling my story to strangers, reliving last night, it made me want to hide under the blankets forever. I don't know if I can. You can. You will. Because if you don't, he wins. He gets to hurt you and walk away. Is that what you want? I looked at my children. Ngozi was pushing food around her plate, not eating. Emeka kept looking toward the door, as if waiting for his father to burst through. They needed to see their mother be strong. Needed to see that there were consequences for hurting people. Okay, I said. Let's go. Obioma had already thought everything through. Her friend Adiz came back to watch the children while we went to the Surulere police station. She'd also called the lawyer she'd mentioned, a woman named Bar. Nena Okeke, who specialized in domestic violence cases. At the station, I told my story to a female officer who listened with an increasingly horrified expression. I showed her my injuries, gave dates and details of previous assaults. "Why didn't you report earlier?" she asked, not unkindly. I was afraid. He threatened to take my children. And he has connections. Not anymore, the officer said grimly. Since those fraud charges hit the news this morning, all his friends in high places are running away from him. Nobody wants to be associated with a land grabber. You picked a good day to come forward. They took photos of my injuries,
Took my statement.
filed an official report, and started the process for a restraining order. He's currently in EFCC custody for questioning about the fraud charges, the officer told me. But they'll probably grant bail in a few days. When that happens, you need to be somewhere he can't find you.
Bar.
Nena met us at the station. She was sharp-eyed and efficient, with the kind of confidence I'd forgotten women could have. First, we secure your safety. Then we file for divorce and full custody. Given his criminal charges and documented history of abuse, a judge will likely rule in your favor. She looked at me seriously. But Mrs. Okonkwo, Amara, you need to be prepared for this to get ugly. Men like your husband don't let go easily. I know.
Good.
Then let's begin. The next few days were a blur of legal appointments, police statements, and media attention I hadn't expected. The Guardian journalist, Chidinma, found me through Obioma. She wanted my story, the wife's perspective on the land grabber's downfall. At first, I refused. I didn't want my face in the papers, my pain on display for strangers to judge. But then I thought about Mrs. Adebayo and her 6 children, the elderly man losing his family's legacy, all the families Chike had destroyed. If my story could help them, could show other women that they didn't have to stay, that there was life after leaving, then maybe all this suffering would mean something. So I talked. I told everything. The article ran 3 days later. The wife who wouldn't stay silent, Amara Okonkwo's story of survival. The response was overwhelming. Women started reaching out. Dozens of them, then hundreds. Women who'd left abusive marriages. Women still trapped in them. Women who wanted to help, who had resources, who knew places we could stay. A shelter in Ikeja offered us free accommodation. A school offered to enroll Ngozi for free. A therapy center offered counseling for all of us, especially the children. People cared. I'd forgotten that people could care. Obioma's small apartment became a hub of activity. Lawyers, activists, journalists, social workers, all coming to help, all offering support. You've become a symbol, Bar. Nena told me one afternoon. Whether you wanted to or not. Women are watching you, taking courage from your courage. But I didn't feel courageous. I felt terrified. Because Chike had made bail. The call came on a Tuesday evening. The prosecutor warning us that he'd been released pending trial, that the restraining order was in effect but enforcement might be difficult. That night, I lay awake in the shelter, listening to my children breathe, waiting for the sound of his footsteps. He'd come for us. I knew he would. The only question was when. Chike came for us on a Wednesday afternoon. We'd been at the shelter in Ikeja for 2 weeks. I'd just picked up Ngozi from her new school, was walking back with both children when I saw him. He was leaning against a black SUV across the street, arms crossed, watching, waiting. My blood turned to ice. Mummy, Ngozi had seen him too. Her hand tightened in mine. Keep walking, I said quietly. Don't look at him. But he was already crossing the street toward us.
Amara.
We need to talk. There's a restraining order. You're not supposed to be within 200 meters. I just want to talk to my children. His voice was controlled, but I could see the rage simmering beneath. Ngozi, Emeka, come here. Ngozi pressed closer to me. Emeka started crying. You're scaring them, I said. I'm scaring them? You're the one who poisoned them against their father. You're the one who destroyed our family. People were starting to stare.
Good.
Witnesses. You destroyed our family when you chose violence. When you chose fraud. When you threw us out in the rain. Now leave, or I'll call the police. Call them. He smiled, and it was terrifying. I have the best lawyers money can buy. You think you've won because you ran to the press? You've won nothing. The charges won't stick. They never do. And when I'm free, and I will be free, I'm coming for my children. Over my dead body. That can be arranged. A security guard from the shelter had appeared at my elbow. Madam, is this man bothering you?
Yes.
Please call the police.
Chaik laughed.
You're going to regret this, Samara. All of this. You could have stayed quiet, kept living in luxury. But you chose to be a martyr. Now watch what happens to martyrs. He walked away, got in his SUV, and drove off. But the threat hung in the air like smoke. That night, at an emergency meeting with Bar, Nena, and the shelter director, we made a decision. You can't stay in Lagos, the director said. It's not safe. He knows where the shelter is now, and he's unpredictable. Where would I go? I have no money, no job. There's a network, Bar, Nena said. Women helping women. We have contacts in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, in Enugu. Places he won't think to look. You can start over, quietly, while the case proceeds. What about the trial? I need to testify. You'll come back for that. But in the meantime, you need to disappear. So we disappeared. With help from the network of survivors and activists, we relocated to Enugu, my mother's hometown, but a different part of the city from where my family lived. A small apartment, sponsored by an NGO. A new school for Ngozi under an assumed name. A job for me at a local primary school, teaching again like I'd done before the nightmare began. For the first few months, I jumped at every sound. Expected Chaik to appear at every corner. But slowly, carefully, we began to heal. Ngozi's nightmares decreased. Emeka stopped flinching every time a man raised his voice. I started sleeping through the night. We went to therapy, all three of us. Learned about trauma, about recovery, about how violence changes your brain, but doesn't have to define your life. I joined a support group for domestic violence survivors. Heard stories that made mine seem almost tame. Met women who'd survived worse and come out stronger. And I started speaking publicly. At first, just at small events in Enugu. Community centers, church groups, women's organizations. Telling my story, encouraging others to leave, letting them know they weren't alone. The speaking engagements grew. Soon I was being invited to conferences, radio shows, even a TV interview on Channel's television. Back in Lagos, Chaik's trial was proceeding. The fraud charges were solid, too much evidence, too many victims. His empire was crumbling. And then the domestic violence case went to court. I returned to Lagos for the hearing, surrounded by security and supporters. The courtroom was packed, media, activists, victims of his land-grabbing scheme, women who'd heard my story. I testified for 3 hours, showed the photos of my injuries, described the years of abuse, looked Chaik in the eye and didn't back down. His lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive, as a scorned woman seeking revenge. But then they called other witnesses. The security guard who'd seen us in the rain that night. Obioma, who testified about the abuse she'd witnessed. Even Mom Nkechi, the bus driver who'd helped us, came forward. And most damning of all, Chaik's own former business partner, Emeka Nwankwo, who testified about conversations where Chaik had bragged about keeping his woman in line. The judge, a stern-faced woman in her 50s, looked at Chaik with open contempt. Mr. Okonkwo, you have shown a pattern of violence, manipulation, and criminal behavior. You are a danger to your wife and children and, frankly, to society at large. The verdict came down hard, guilty on multiple counts of fraud, guilty of domestic violence. Full custody to me. Chaik was not allowed within 500 meters of me or the children without supervised visitation, which I could decline. 7 years in prison for the fraud charges. He stared at me across the courtroom as they led him away in handcuffs. Mouthed something I couldn't hear. But it didn't matter anymore. He was gone. and we were free. A year later, I stood in front of a crowd of 200 women at the Lagos Women's Conference. I wore a bright yellow dress, no more trying to blend into walls, no more making myself small. Ngozi and Emeka sat in the front row with Obioma, smiling up at me. "My name is Amara Okonkwo," I began, "and I'm a survivor." I told them about that night in the rain, about feeling like my life was over, about discovering that endings can also be beginnings. "I won't lie to you," I said. Leaving was the hardest thing I've ever done. Starting over was terrifying. There were days I wanted to give up, days I felt like I'd made everything worse. But today, I have something I didn't have in that marriage: peace, freedom, my self-respect, and my children. I looked at Ngozi and Emeka, both growing so fast, both healing. My children are learning that love shouldn't hurt, that women are strong, that we don't have to accept cruelty as the price of security. If you're in that situation right now, if you're reading this and wondering if you should stay or go, I want you to know, you are stronger than you think. You deserve better. And there are people ready to help you. You just have to reach out. I shared the hotlines, the resources, the shelters. Saw women in the audience wiping tears, writing numbers down, nodding to themselves. After the speech, dozens came up to thank me, to share their own stories, to ask for help. And I helped them, because that became my purpose, the meaning I found in all that pain. With support from NGOs and donors, I started a foundation, Amara's Hope. We provided shelter, legal support, counseling, and job training for women leaving abusive relationships. In the first year, we helped 53 women and 92 children escape violence. Ngozi, now 7, sometimes helped at the shelter, playing with the younger children, showing them that life gets better. "Mummy," she told me one day, "when I grow up, I want to help people like you do." I hugged her tight. "You already are, baby. You already are." I never forgot that night in the rain. It was the worst night of my life, and also the night that saved it. Because sometimes you have to walk through hell to find your way home to yourself. And I was finally home.